regardless, it's like hoping the Iranian regime topples under the weight of this current protest. I wouldn't, hold out a lot of hope. I wouldn't put a lot of money on it.
The Iranian regime, what they're doing scares the shit out of me.
Yeah.
It's really scary. They just tortured and murdered a karate champion and for protesting. And
rappers disappeared now.
Yeah.
I mean, they really don't care. They've killed, depends on the estimates you read, but, 450, 500 people on the street during protests, much less all the people who have just disappeared, right? And they're sitting held in prison somewhere. So,
but everyone over here is so distracted by Ukraine and Russia that we rarely talk about Iran.
Well, that's a great point. We're very sort of singular in our attention, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, again, we can't multitask. So we should be worried about Iran. We should be really, where are the big flashpoints? Russia, Ukraine, obviously, is one. Iran, because what's going to happen if Iran? Here's a thought, right? If you think about the breakout potential for Iran to develop a nuke, right, a weapon, some estimates now are about a week, 1 week, right, to develop enough enriched uranium. You've got to enrich
a week from right now.
If they're basically saying, look, if they make that decision, they need what 25 kilograms of enriched uranium at like 90%. That's weapons grade. So they could do that within a week. Is a number of estimates, legitimate estimates. They could. And that's for one. And okay, so is there value in that? Well, from their perspective, perhaps they could do 3 weapons in maybe a month's time. So that breakout that we used to talk about in terms of years, at least many months now is shrunk. Right? And so the idea is, as a flashpoint, people say, well, why should we still be worried about Iran? Well, because, there's a high likelihood that if the Israelis get, the sense that that's where they're heading, that they're going to do, then they may take action, right? Kinetic action to stop it. They've done it in Iraq. They did it in Syria, gone after, these capabilities. And that could obviously cause a flash there that spreads out of control, right, and draws us into it. So, there's reasons why, because people, sometimes people say, why do I care about Taiwan? Why do I care about Iran? It's because of the potential for a problem that we can't get our hands around, that we can't control. And so with Iran, it's largely comes down to this issue of, what is their breakout? Now, aside from just enriching uranium, they got to come up with the weaponization of it all, right? And that could take longer, right? That could take months and months, right? But, it's a heavy lift to figure out what their plans and intentions are. So, and we kind of backed out of this. Biden administration was clear that they wanted to get back into the nuke agreement from 2015. It was like, yeah, we gotta do everything we can. And so they started those talks when they got in, and now they've kind of shut them down, basically, because the Iranians made some demands that weren't realistic. And also, the protests, right? And also, they're selling fucking weapons to Russia, right? So, Russia's turned to Iran and North Korea to resupply their hardware and get gear that they can't get, drones in particular, from Iran. So do we really want to be talking, a nuke deal with Iran at this moment? Probably not. Whether it's pragmatic or not, but certainly from a political perspective, I don't think the Biden administration wants that heat. So there's a lot of shit happening that's very interesting. We haven't even touched on Harry and Meghan yet. God.
That's the big distraction.
That's the big distraction.
Right. Like they assassinated the fucking Olympic gold medalist in Russia, in wrestling rather, in Iran, because he was protesting against the government. Like they'll take national heroes and kill them openly. Like it's not a good place to live.
Right.
And I'm not saying we should bomb them, but like being in support of Iran, the Iranian people, yeah, for sure. But that government is nuts, man. Mm-hmm. It's like, trans people for Hamas. like, you know what I mean? Like there's people that are just, they're not seeing what you're talking, they're not seeing the big picture.
Yeah, there's so many contradictions out there, man. It's really hard to follow it all.
It's because it's a cult.
And and I think a huge amount of the Iranian population supports Israel too. And it's like you would never fucking know that unless you like talk to them or listen to some of these interviews of these people.
A ton of Persian Jews that moved to Los Angeles. That was like at the fall, I guess it was in the 70s when so this is the story for people that don't know about Iran. So there was a gentleman who was democratically elected. I forget his name. What is his name? I'm going to fuck it up. So he decided that he was going to nationalize oil in Iran, and they got him out like that. They installed the Shah and turned it into an Islamic dictatorship, but they had access to the oil. So the CIA and the British government and everybody conspired to get rid of this democratically elected guy, because Iran at the time was like, women were wearing shorts or skirts rather, walking down the street. It looked cool. Here it is. Mohammed Mossadegh. Okay, so let's zoom in on the story here. It says Iranian Prime Minister Mohammed Mossadegh was removed from power in a coup organized and financed by British and U.S. governments. The Shah quickly returned to take power and signed off over 40% of Iran's oil fields to U.S. companies. It's crazy, man. It's like, it's so transparent. They didn't even wait a couple of years. They didn't even, well, the Shah's in power now. We'll see how things go. They immediately came in and signed everything off. 1953, the CIA and British intelligence orchestrated a coup d'etat that toppled the democratically elected government of Iran. The government of Mohammed Mossadegh, the aftershocks of the coup are still being felt. 51 Prime Minister Mossadegh roused Britain's ire when he nationalized the oil industry. So the oil, they weren't making money off the oil. They were making money, but not as much money as the British were. Yeah. It had been exclusively controlled by the Anglo-Iranian Oil Company. The company later became known as the British Petroleum.
This
BP.
time it's different, though. We don't want
BP,
the
which
oil
is
this time.
they're the same people that dumped all the oil in the Gulf.
Yeah, exactly.
That's BP. After considering military action, Britain opted for a coup d'etat. President Harry Truman rejected the idea, but when Dwight Eisenhower took over the White House, he ordered the CIA to embark on one of its first covert operations against a foreign government. And Iran's been fucked ever since. I mean, we've been doing stuff like that. Not you and I, not me and Danny Jones. We're innocent. But the United States government, especially the intelligence agencies in the days, before they assassinated Kennedy, they were doing all kinds of wild shit.
Oh yeah.
And
we're done now. We don't do that anymore. They don't do that shit anymore.
They definitely don't.
No. They would never. They don't give a shit about the oil over there.
No, this government's America first now. We're legit.
America first.
It's a crazy history,
bro.
and
when
you don't know the history, you go like, "Why are we mad at the Iranians?" Well, why are they mad at us? Okay, like what did we do to them? Like why? How did these Islamic jihadists come to power? Like where did it all start? Well, go back to the Mujahideen. We literally changed their definition of jihad. Like we wanted them to become suicide bombers. We wanted them to do things and martyr themselves. So it was the original definition of jihad. Look this up, but I'm pretty sure it was a war against your own vices.
Really?
Yep. Yeah. The idea was you were trying to be a good Muslim, a pure Muslim. You were trying to avoid impure thoughts, no alcohol, all these different things, and they twisted that around with jihadists and through the CIA and Osama bin Laden and the Mujahideen to fight off the Soviet Union when the Soviet Union occupied Afghanistan. Like Osama bin Laden was our guy.
Right.
He was working for us.
Yeah.
And he's like, these fucking people suck.
Yeah, there was the story how his pancreas
A struggle
failed.
against the enemies of Islam, a spiritual struggle within oneself against sin. Greatest jihad. Yeah.
It sounds great.
Isn't that interesting? A spiritual struggle within oneself against sin.
Yeah, I mean, just reading it sounds like
so. It seems like it's more than one definition.
There's probably so many bastardized
The other one is
versions.
Declared a jihad against the scroll back down again. Struggle or fight against the enemies of Islam. So it's two things, but they made it.
Yeah.
They did a lot of mind fucking to those people, and they put them on a war that they couldn't win, again, to try to do the same thing that they were doing with the rocket program, with everything else. They were trying to outspend the Soviets. They were trying to bankrupt them.
Yeah. That part of the world is just like, how much of it has to do with the fact that we've been occupying that area, that part of the world for so long, and going out there, killing all the bad guys, and then the kids seeing their families being slaughtered, and then okay, we're going to eliminate terrorism, let's take out these bad guys. But then the kids grow up and you realize it's just the Hydra. You cut the head off and 3 grow back.
Well, if you want to be even more cynical, we pay them and we arm them.
Yes.
and we left behind billions of dollars of shit in Afghanistan that they use for parades now. They drive down the street with our tanks. Yeah. They have our Black Hawks flying overhead. That's all the shit we left. Billions of dollars. Like, you couldn't have got that out? Well, do you think they leave it there so that these people are always formidable and they always leave open the door to go back in?
Yeah.
I think so. I don't think that's the primary reason why they did it. But I've got to assume that that would be on the table if it's been on the table in the past. Arming people in the past has always been a thing that we do. I mean, there's a Bill Hicks joke about Iraq. You know, it's like, they have the most deadly weapons. How do you know? Well, we looked at the receipts. I butchered the joke, but But you know, we've always been doing that. Of course, we've done that forever.
Yeah. What's my favorite Bill Hicks joke? At least I'm not like a historian on Bill Hicks, but the one where he's talking about the sock puppets. He's like, I like this guy on the right. He seems like he fits my ideas. He's like, well, I think fancy the guy on the left. He's like, what the fuck? The same guy's holding both the puppets.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean that's perfect. Perfectly illustrates the way it is. You know?
Yeah. And again, this was before we really knew things. This was Bill Hicks was saying this in the 1990s, where we just had books. So, you know, it was really hard to get these ideas across. He would have been a great podcast guest.
Oh, hell yeah.
You know, because he was like saying these things when no one even knew what he was saying, you know, and he was putting it into comedy. You know, like people then were not nearly as aware of the manipulation of money and power. They really thought, a lot of people thought that the will of the people, you know, the president, we got to get a good president in there that's looking out for us. And they didn't really understand that it's all being bought and paid by special interest groups, large corporations, huge donors. And that when the guy gets in there, he's just representing the same thing.
Oh, yeah, Dubai. Listen, if we go to Iran, because I was going to get rid of this joke at the 20-year-olds in the audience that we're bringing back the draft and you're going for sure. And don't try to gay your way out. We're going. Iran, they want that Iran war so bad. And Trump has brought so many snakes to his bosom again, like that Mike Waltz dipshit.
Why do you think they want to do that?
The Greater Israel Project, the thing Wesley Clark talked about back when they mapped out all the countries they wanted knocked out, Libya, Iraq. We've got all of them except Iran, I think. Syria, we got our Al-Qaeda guys in there, so great job, everyone.
Jesus Christ.
People from Syria, if you ever talk to them,
out of all the things that the government has fucked up, this regime change thing, they fucked that up more than anything. Like, has it ever worked out better for the people that lived there? Think about how many people died during. I know, I understand.
Yeah.
But I think about like trying to sell the same thing over and over and over again.
It's insulting, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, because every single time it's been a fucking disaster.
Even an idiot could put it like me.
Yeah.
When I remember the day where I was like, it was probably 2015 or 16. I was like, are we still in Iraq? Like, it felt like I left the oven on.
And we're hearing the same thing, like weapons of mass destruction, they're this close, they're this close.
Oh, by the way, everyone, if we do go to war, and if you're dumb enough to sign up to go to Iran, just so you know, we can't beat Iran. We haven't won a war in 80 years. I don't know why everybody seems to forget that we don't win these wars. I mean, somebody wins. It ain't you. It ain't you fighting it. That's for goddamn sure. But all of them have so if we go to bomb Iran, Iran has hypersonic missiles that we do not have. So think of how much money.
They do?
Oh, yes.
How do you know what the military has?
Oh, we did a story on it. And I was like this. I'm like, are you shitting me? We don't have the best missiles? No. We were doing things like using Ukraine as missiles.
There's a lot of stuff that the United States always possesses that are top secret. Like, there's certain videos that they will not show, allegedly, of UFOs, because then it would reveal the kind of surveillance equipment that they have available and where the surveillance equipment is, including underwater stuff.
Well, the really good stuff I doubt America has. It's the people in charge of America have, but not America. But these missiles, they can't stop them with, like, Iron Dome kind of shit. They can't.
They're too fast.
And
they change direction.
Yeah, Russia has, it's not the same as like a NATO alliance, but they have signed a thing with China and Iran.
Oh, great.
Yeah, so the war with Russia that we're supposed to avoid by this Ukraine thing, I guess Zelensky gave the minerals already to UK a long time ago, which is why Boris Johnson sabotaged the peace deal before, I'm guessing, among other crazy reasons. And so if we go bomb Iran, that might bring Russia into his world. Somebody wants World War III real bad.
Jesus Christ, you're freaking me out, Kurt.
I got great news. Oh, this is my Timber Sycamore shirt.
What is that?
That's the operation where Obama started, to get rid of Assad, install an Al Qaeda leader in Syria.
Wait a minute, it has a T-shirt?
No, I have a charity called Shirts for Kurds where I take the names of operations. I go, make me a T-shirt that I will wear around that looks like a band or something. So I got some good. This guy Fret Pound, his name is, sent this to me. He sent it to the club.
So what are you wearing? Timber Sycamore. Classified weapons supply and training program run by the United States Central Intelligence Agency and supported by the United Kingdom and some Arab intelligence services, including Saudi intelligence.
Yeah.
The aim of the program was to remove Syrian President Bashar al-Assad from power. Launched in 2012 or 2013, it supplied money, weaponry, and training to Syrian opposition groups fighting Syrian government forces
Al Qaeda
in the Syrian civil war. There's a lot of Syrians.
That's
in
where
there.
we armed Al Qaeda. So
Yeah.
any guys watching out there, if you got, or gals, you got any limbs blown off guard in a poppy field for a warlord, Al Qaeda, we installed them. We're back together with them. We're cool again. So you don't have to shoot them if you see them.
Bad guys.
Al
Kurt.
Qaeda?
Cut them some slack.
I like
what did
Al,
send,
but Qaeda, I'm
what
not
did I
into.
send you something earlier today?
Oh, I didn't look at it. The Sean Ryan thing?
About heroin.
I brought to light how we are sending $40 to $87 million to the Taliban for about a year now. It's more than that. I've mentioned it quite a few times, and I've seen back before the State Department said they accidentally gave them the money.
Yeah.
You know how we left the wrong way and left all our stuff and didn't disable. We thought it was disabled, but it wasn't. Well, that's the lithium triangle that Afghanistan's in. So I'm sure that's part of the deal. We give them all our stuff. Hey, they played a good game. Give them some helicopters. And we can train terrorists there because most of the Islamists came from us or Saudis or Israel or Pakistan, most of them. And we paid them like $100 million out of the State Department. Maybe it was the USAID, I don't know. But a dude who showed me a video of it that he had, he wouldn't text it to me. He was like scared to text it to me. But this guy used to be he had an international press pass. He showed me video of these Taliban guys. They made like a fort out of American money. Like they made like a way more than a chest high wall of money.
Jesus Christ.
And so he wouldn't send it to me. But then 2 weeks later, it comes out in the news that they accidentally. So they slipped in that they gave it to them, but they have lithium there because that's the name of the game, right?
I'm going to send you
Murderals.
this Sean Ryan thing, Jamie.
So he's right what he's saying, but I'm like, you weren't aware of this earlier, Sean? As a guy that ran a cartel or whatever, that's where he came from. He's in Colombia running a drug network. They don't just let Americans do that unless they're like, come on.
Well, he was openly working for the government, right? When he was doing that?
Oh, you don't think he was selling the drugs on behalf of the government?
But what I don't know what he's even admitted to doing.
It's a Kim.
By the way, I really like this guy. I know you have issues with him. I
don't have any personal issues
I like
with
him a lot.
Well, I don't have any personal issues.
I think
I don't want to say that he's a killer.
there's guys that get into the military, start working for the government, become agency people, get hired to do jobs all over the world, and I know a bunch of them. And they're some of the most interesting people I've ever met.
100%.
But they don't agree with the way things are being run. And if they've done that and then they step out and then they start talking about it like Sean Ryan, you got to kind of like...
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
That everything you're saying is perfectly reasonable. Now I remember when the guy who blew up his own Tesla outside of Elon's...
Oh, yeah.
He had this like skull and he was like, oh, we just got word that I got this email. And all of a sudden, next thing he's in another... And we're not talking about it no more. That's that's very oppy.
Well, it is. But it also could be if you don't... Like, how long has Sean Ryan been doing a show?
I don't know. He came out of nowhere.
One thing that does happen is you get duped. We've been duped before. I've had people on the podcast where I'm like, this guy's kind of a con artist. Like, you get duped. And you get duped with stories. You get duped with people send you stuff that's not real. They send you down these rabbit holes that are stupid. If you're not seasoned in this, and I'm still fucking up all the time. But if you haven't done a lot of these kind of podcasts where you're talking about controversial issues, sometimes you say something that's not totally accurate, or maybe the people that are telling you the information aren't who they say they are. Maybe you're being purposely fed misinformation. It's fucking hard to figure it out sometimes.
The whole Iranian nuclear threat is as much bullshit as the Iraqi nuclear threat. I mean, yeah, it is true that they have a civilian nuclear program that Iraq didn't have. And it is, I know, I saw when Mike Baker was on, who I love Mike Baker, but I think he's wrong about all this stuff. But when you had said to him at one point where you were like, yeah, but like, you know, the counter argument to that is that this is like a latent nuclear deterrent. Is the idea, not that they're developing a nuclear weapon. And Mike was basically like, yeah, but they're up to 60%, you know, and that's on its way to 90%. But the thing is, why weren't they at 90%? They didn't have to stop at 60%. They mastered the fuel cycle and they figured out all this technology a long time ago. They could have enriched up to weapons grade. Why did they stop at 60%? And why did they then enter negotiations with the United States of America about the level to which they were enriching uranium? Because it's a latent nuclear deterrent. It's a bargaining chip. They were down at like 3 to 5% or something under the JCPOA until Trump tore it up, until Trump backed out of it. And then under the rules of the JCPOA, because they're still in it with Europe, and we'll see where that goes now, but they were allowed to up the enrichment once America pulled out. And so they exercised that option in the agreement. And there the idea that they were there was the annual threat assessment had come out just a few months before the war, and Tulsi Gabbard signed her name at the bottom of it and then testified before Congress, and it's clear as day. She turned around and acted like people were misrepresenting it, but they weren't. It was clear as day. Anyone can read it for themselves. She said Iran has not made the political decision to pursue a nuclear weapon yet, let alone have achieved it or gotten one. And when Donald Trump was asked about that, remember they said your own director of national intelligence says that they're not developing a weapon. And he goes, well, I disagree.
Have you ever seen I'm sure you have, the compilation of Netanyahu over the years saying how close Iran is to getting a nuclear weapon?
Yeah, it's great. Have you seen, there's other compilations of him too, where he's just guaranteeing, like all his guarantees. Like there's one of him in like, I think it's the year before I was born, if I'm right. It's 1982. And he didn't go by Benjamin Netanyahu back then. He went by whatever his more, European sounding name was.
Why did he change names?
Well, because they all
when?
80s, I would guess. It's got to be in the 80s. He was Netanyahu by the 90s. But in the 80s, they were still calling him whatever. I can't remember his previous name.
Why did he change his name?
Well, they all kind of, because the whole thing, Joe, is that they're all, Israel was a European, construct. They were made by a bunch of Europeans who came over and created Israel. But then they have to claim that they're the true Semitic people.
Is it true that genetic testing is outlawed there?
I believe that is true. I believe that's true. I mean, double check me on that, but I believe it's true.
We should definitely double check that
like permission
right now
from the government to go get DNA tests and stuff. Because I think, and I believe.
Well, this is the problem with the term Semitic. Mm-hmm. Because if these are European Jewish people, this is not the exact same genetics.
That's right. And
genetic testing
heavily regulated.
Heavily. Here, you can fucking get it at Walgreens.
That's right. Yeah.
And focused on medical and reproductive purposes with broad support for carrier screening and pre-implantation diagnosis. What does that mean? Pre-implantation diagnosis? This creates a system where health-related genetic testing is robust and often publicly funded, but direct-to-consumer tests for ancestry or paternity are highly restricted. Now, why would you highly restrict anything like that? If you wanted if a human being has bodily autonomy and you want to find out where your ancestors came from, why wouldn't that be? What do you think?
Well, look, like the only real answer to this is that they, the Israel project or the Zionist project always relied on this kind of claim, which is a crazy claim in a way. It's like a supernatural property right claim,
right,
that that you have this, which if you go, there was that great documentary on the settlers in the West Bank, and they'll all tell you to a man or to a woman. They focus a lot on that godmother of the settlers woman, but they'll all explain to you, like in very plain English with a Hebrew accent, that God promised them all this land. And so, like, God promised us all this land. So, like, I don't know who these other people are here, but God didn't promise it to them. He promised it to us. And so That's kind of the claim, that we're the original people of this land, and so we have like a right to come back here. Now, forget for a second the fact that nobody conceives of property rights in this fashion in any other way. Like, nobody thinks I could like come up with a DNA test and be like, oh, I've got some Ukrainian in here. All right, well, I'm going to march into Ukraine, knock on a door, and be like, this is actually my house because I was here 1,000 years ago. Like that's.
But it's kind of crazy that you block evidence that's not really a good argument. So there was one other thing that we wanted to talk about when we first started. One of them was Jeffrey Epstein. Do you remember what the other one was? You were going to show me the Jeffrey Epstein, I'm such a child.
There's the Gervais thing, and then George Lopez's comment.
Oh, that's it. So, and then there's a bounty on Trump's head.
I guess. I don't know how anyone heard it or where they listed it, but I read it on Twitter, and then people were making jokes about it.
How much is the bounty?
$80 million from somewhere in Iran, or I don't know.
If you go to Bet DSI, you can.
Dude, imagine if they nuke Trump. Where does the world stand if they only drop one nuke and it's on the White House? Small one, little baby nuke. Just levels the entire building and everything near it.
Well, Iran dropped out of the nuclear accord, so they're going to start enriching uranium again.
Trump, though, tweeted, Iran does not have any nuclear weapons, ! Hashtag something.
Right, but they can get them.
Yeah.
This is so crazy. This seems like, for the first time in a long time, I'm thinking we could go to war with a country. Like, this seems crazy.
The internet jumped into World War III memes immediately.
Instantly.
24 hours of straight jokes.
What do you think happens?
I don't know. I don't even know what's happening right now. Stuff could be happening right now.
What did the guy do? Because Dan Crenshaw was saying that he organized the attack on the embassy and that he was organizing other attacks on U.S. sites.
He was a bad guy, supposedly. There is some stuff saying like he is a bad guy. It's just how Trump did it is how the problem. Right. He did help fight ISIS a lot, also. So he wasn't. He was a really bad guy, but there was points like the biggest problem is that Trump just went out and pretty much assassinated him. Right. Like instead of dealing with it like an adult.
Do you imagine when they went through all those other like really finely detailed points? This is a strategy we can employ, or we could just take him out with a missile.
I read he was trolling Trump too, like trolling him on Twitter. I don't know if that was true. Like that guy had
that Iranian guy was?
Yeah, and it's like publicly
talking
shit to him.
Oh my God! Could you imagine if that guy was trolling Trump and Trump killed him?
Yeah.
Oh my God!
He was talking about his hands or something.
Oh my God! Imagine you talking about his orange skin, his fake hair, and his fucking baby hands. And he's like, oh yeah, fucking baby hands. Oh my God! He got into a meme battle with Trump.
I might have Googled it too quick. It could be a fake site. I don't think it is.
The Daily Dot, is that a fake site?
Maybe it was too quick. I don't know.
The Daily Dot?
Is that a real website?
I'm trying to confirm.
Okay.
This other site. These other things look real.
Keep us posted.
Okay.
I don't want to comment just yet because I have a feeling I have a lot to say about this.
I want to see what the memes are.
It's so crazy, man. It's so crazy that this situation that we find ourselves in, when none of us who are listening to this had anything to do with any of this shit that might kill 1 million people. None of us. And then our leaders. Like that we've been so roped into this fucking Game of Thrones mentality that our leaders are going to make these critical decisions for us, and they're going to be in charge of what kind of diplomacy we employ on other nations. They're going to represent us in the most personal way possible, like the way he does it. Like the way Trump does it, that's personal. That's how he is. So he's standing for us, but he's standing up for himself as a person. There's part of that too, right? Like he doesn't want to be fucked with. He wants you to know. The United States is not going to be fucked with me in charge. They're like, yeah. So it's like him. He's the one out there. And he's the one they go, you can just nuke the guy. He's like, well, fuck, I'll just nuke him. Commander of the Islamic Revolution Guards Corps, Force Major General, how do you say his name? Qasim Soleimani? Qasim?
I don't know how to say the first name. Soleimani, I think.
Soleimani responded to U.S. President Donald Trump's announcement of sanctions are coming with a Game of Thrones-inspired meme of his own.
Oh, my gosh.
And it says, I will stand against you. and it has the Game of Thrones like O and U. So he put that up, and then Trump.
Yeah, this is a couple months ago, but
He remembers.
This is November 2018.
Actually, it was a year ago.
Bro,
so.
he's got that speed memory. Trump can remember shit. This motherfucker owes me since the 70s.
That's crazy.
That is crazy. A guy memes you and then you murder him. Woo! Jesus Christ. Baked Alaska better hide.
And it was a Game of Thrones thing.
So crazy. It's so crazy that these worlds have collided. And then, what do you think? Putin is probably laughing his ass off right now. He's probably got his feet up on the chair, smoking a cigar, just laughing and laughing, watching this chaos play out. And then for sure, he's going to help Iran. For sure. Anything that destabilizes his number one competitor. That's what China's going to do too. This is so dumb. It's also scary. But it's also one of those things where we don't know what the fuck is going on. So it could have been the right move. We don't know. I mean, it might have been the thing you have to do to avoid more deaths. China, Russia, and Iran hold joint naval drills in the Gulf of Oman. Oh, terrific.
That's great.
China, Russia, and Iran together. We're getting into some World War III shit here. That's World War III. That is like when Italy was joined in Germany. I mean, that's what that is.
We should probably get away from the coast.
Bro, imagine if this fucking guy gets us into World War III by deciding to do that and then have all these crazy threats. See, the rest of the world does not want to think. This is one of the things. Like, if you think you're the baddest motherfucker and you represent the baddest country, you got to kind of almost be like a real baddest motherfucker. Like a guy like Stipe Miocic, like a UFC heavyweight champ. They don't go around saying they're going to kick everybody's ass because everybody already knows it. And if you start saying that you're going to be able to do whatever you want and maybe even do it in a disproportionate manner, all the other countries are like, why do you have any power? Like, who are you, man? And they say, like, we're really powerful. We all get together, bitch. You're pretending you're more powerful than everybody? That's a weird thing to do. It's a weird chest-puffing strategy to take on a country that has allies. That's where it gets fucked up. It's not just Iran, Iran. It's all Iran's allies. They all get together. Now you have a giant force of people and nuclear weapons. Congratulations. Did you guys play chess or did you play checkers growing up? How the fuck are you just a tic-tac-toe ace and you didn't see this coming? This is why it's really important to have, people have to be able to talk. Have to be able to have dialogue.
You see this tweet that he said before?
Yes,
The one, yeah,
targeted 52 Iranian sites representing the 52 American hostages taken by Iran many years ago. Bro, that was during the Carter administration. I think we can let that go. These are not the same fucking people. Those people are all dead. That's crazy. So this is more team mentality. But that'll get the yokels. All the fucking, all the dudes just jump off the tractor, jacking off into the fields, and they hear that. Like, yeah, fucking get him, Trump. Woo! This shit could get hot. This could get hot and it could get real. And if he really has the ability to do that, what other calls does he have the ability to do? Is there ever going to be another moment like that where Iran boxes in a ship and then he sends in a fighter jet? I mean, is this going to really fucking happen? Because then none of us can go anywhere. We have to hide. And we got to get out of LA because they're definitely going to nuke that. Like, this is because... Imagine the movie if it all played out like that in like a Stephen King movie made a thing about a game show host that eventually becomes the president of the United States and starts a war while he's on speed.
I do that every day when I'm really high.
Well, now I'm getting there. I was not getting there before. This was enough to make me go, holy shit. Like, is there a better way to handle that than... blasting that guy with a robot from the sky? Like, what did we start? I don't know, man. I don't want to know. Right? you don't want to know that all over the world, these little pieces are in motion that are trying to protect us from terrorists, trying to make sure that they stop ISIS, and this sect is growing here, and these people are getting shot there, and then what about the cartels, and they're getting up this much? If you would be paralyzed by fear, if you took in all the information on all the fucking danger all over the world, you'd be paralyzed by fear.
So I was when I was in Vegas while this was happening this weekend, if you didn't look at your phone, you wouldn't have known any of this was going on. No, I didn't hear anybody talking about it.
Yeah, I didn't
walking
either.
all around.
That was the good thing about being off social media, and was my point in the first place. By the time things get to me, it's already been sort of distributed better. You know, I'll get I don't have to jump on right away, and then it becomes the focus of my day long before we know anything. And I keep refreshing CNN every 5 minutes. I'm scared, like legitimately. This is like for the first time in a long time since like 9/11 where I'm legitimately like, oh, this is some real shit. This could be really bad. Because if he says he's going to do something in a disproportionate manner, he's threatening them. He's calling their bluff. Bro, this is so dangerous. So dangerous. Because all they have to do is just nuke Hawaii. Do something like that. Where the rest of the world would be like, hey, what are we going to do? We're going to kill each other everywhere? Everyone? Because that's what could happen. This like mutually assured destruction was always supposed to be the big impediment. That mutually assured destruction. If we knew that if we shot them, they'd shoot us, we'd all be dead. That's what kept us from using bombs. But who the fuck knows, man? What if Iran just says, listen, if we just sneak a bomb in, by the time it's detonated, they won't even have a chance to respond. The whole system will be fucked. Their grid will be down. All their entertainment will be down. Everything will be down. And then the rest of the world can figure out a way to unite together and take over the power that the United States once enjoyed. They were abusing that power. They were the number one superpower in the world, and they let their guy take diet pills and threaten everybody on Twitter. I don't know if he takes diet pills. He had them in his dresser, but I don't even know if those are his. I just want to say.
Right now, the belief is that, and I think we'll know more about this in a few years, that a few things happen all at the same time. There's a perfect storm. First, Hamas has been planning this attack for 2 years, and one of the leaders of Hamas actually said that they've been strategically lulling Israel to sleep by making it seem like they're no longer interested in a conflict the past 2 years. And Israel, even just a week before the attack, allowed more Gazans to come over the border and work in Israel as basically a reward for good behavior, right? They thought Hamas has gone into this mode where they're more concerned about the economics of the Gaza Strip than about attacking Israel. So Israel was asleep at the wheel. Israel also had transferred a lot of IDF that would normally be at the Gaza border to the West Bank. It was also the Sabbath. It was also a major holiday. It's also they've had the biggest protests in a generation, almost the same way America was during 2020. Israel has been for the past several months over their judicial reform. So you put it all together.
Can you go into that a little bit, please?
Yeah. So basically, the judicial reform in Israel is not like the United States. They don't have a constitution. They don't have this kind of really beautiful genius system of checks and balances that we have where, the president can veto Congress and the Supreme Court has a check on everyone, right? And everyone keeps each other in check. Israel just has a single parliament they call the Knesset, a prime minister that has a lot of control over that parliament because he leads the majority coalition. So basically, in Israel, the president and their Congress have a lot more power than in America, historically. The Supreme Court doesn't have the power to say no to them. But over the past 30 years, the Supreme Court has been basically grabbing more power for itself under these things called basic laws, where they can now say to the Knesset, no, you cannot implement that policy in the West Bank. It violates human rights. They have more powers to check the majority party. And that's come to a head now because the Supreme Court is perceived as left-wing and sympathetic to the Palestinians. Just like in America right now, the Supreme Court is perceived as right-wing. And the Benjamin Netanyahu is obviously Likud. He's the right-wing party, and he's gone into coalition with these ultra kind of right-wing religious. And so it's come to a head where basically the right in Israel feels that the Supreme Court is just expanding its own power and is anti-democratic. And now they want to, judicial reform is basically stripping the Supreme Court of the power it's grabbed for itself over the past 30 years. Now, the left in Israel views the Supreme Court as the only protection against human rights violations and violations of minority rights. So the left feels the Supreme Court is a great defender of Israeli human rights, and the right feels that the Supreme Court is an undemocratic institution that's been expanding its own power for 30 years and now needs to be reined in so that the majority can govern. That's torn apart the country. It's absolutely the number one issue every day, protests all over Israel. So you put all this together with Hamas backed by Iran, and you also throw in the fact that Israel and Saudi Arabia are on the verge of a peace deal, which is huge. It would be the biggest news in the Middle East in a very long time if Israel and Saudi Arabia made peace. It would basically put kind of the death nail in the coffin for Hamas, because Saudi Arabia is the biggest holdout now in terms of who has not made peace with Israel. So Hamas, from the point of view of Hamas and Iran, they think this is a last chance. Kind of, we have to attack now, kill this deal, or we're dead forever. And they planned this thing meticulously for 2 years, intentionally lulling the Israelis to sleep. And they have brilliant success, much more success than they expected to. Now, some people have said it's an inside job. I don't believe it is. I think if it is, we'll know that from reporting that comes out in the next 2 years. But at this point, I believe the theory that it was an incredibly successful attack by Hamas and a perfect storm.
Well, that all connects and makes sense, if that's the case. What's terrifying is there doesn't seem, what's always terrified me about the Middle East is that there doesn't seem to be a clear way to resolve this. I mean, if Saudi Arabia and Iran, or rather Israel, came to some sort of an agreement and made peace and were able to establish that long term, that'd be a great step in the right direction. But other than that, like when you look at what's happened now, oh my God, the rhetoric from both sides, it's just, didn't we learn anything from World War II? Didn't we learn anything from the Holocaust? Didn't we learn anything from human beings' ability to other human beings, to just turn them into a thing that's not them, dehumanize them? And that there's this impulse to do so that existed forever, because when we were tribal people that probably barely had a language, you had to be absolutely terrified of marauding male tribes that came over your border and wanted to kill you and take your resources and steal your women, because that's what they did. And so we have this ability to look at other human beings as an other and get ruthless and horrifyingly violent, because that was the only way for us to survive for thousands of years. So it's ingrained in our system. But it's now it exists in the context of global war. And it exists in a time where you can manipulate media and spread false narratives, and governments are allowed to use propaganda. They're allowed to lie to people if it's for the overall better good of the nation. It's wild. And that's the root of the issue. The root of the issue is how every human being sort of reluctantly admits that there's almost no way to stop all wars. Right now, if you had a magic solution to stop all wars in the world, what would it be? It doesn't exist. That's terrifying, because the thing that we are scared of the most is global thermonuclear war, the thing that everybody should be the most terrified of, that we get so stupid that we wipe every human being off the face of the planet, and we're more than capable of doing it. some insane number of times over, and that they're playing with the very first steps of that game. They've moved the first pawn out onto the chessboard of the global thermonuclear war chess game. That is the world.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Every single nation that's involved in every conflict and all these people controlling resources over a group of gigantic people with their representative, and they're saying these people are the bad people and they're saying you're the bad people. It's just like human beings have always done. It's like literally a part of our system.
So I agree with you that we are built and hardwired for deep levels of violence. Those of us that have been lucky enough to live in safety and security, we may not realize the violence we're capable of because we've never had to survive. Right. But I do believe that there is a difference. You mentioned the lessons of World War II, right? We were capable of violence. Hitler was capable of violence, but we were not the same as Hitler.
Right.
There was an imperative for us to defeat him at almost any cost, and we did horrible things in that war. But people understand that there was a good side and there was an evil side.
Yes.
Now, I don't know if you or most of your listeners feel this way about Israel, but I do. I think that in this situation, Israel is the good guy and Hamas is the evil guy. I think some people feel Hamas is just acting like anyone would if you had taken their land, and their freedom fighters that go a little bit overboard. I don't think that's what they are. I think they are a death cult that really believes what they write in their charter in the late 80s, that they want to annihilate every single Jew in Israel and replace it with an Islamic State and eventually have a state like ISIS. And that what they did on October 7th with the barbaric slaughter, that's the point for them. That is what they want to do to all of Israel. And the difference is that Israel, though like the American army, it's just like there's been many excesses, much to criticize. If Israel wanted to annihilate Hamas and the Palestinians the same way Hamas wants to annihilate Israel, Hamas would be gone and there would be no Palestinians in Gaza. We know that Israel could obliterate them overnight. Why don't they? Well, for mixed reasons, but because they don't want to. They want to live in peace fundamentally. And so I don't think the two sides are equivalent here, though they're both capable of that universal among humans, which is cruelty. I don't think these two sides are the same. I really think this is a situation where there is a good guy and a bad guy.
What solution could possibly be created that would somehow or another calm this down at this point? After that attack, it's so horrifying. But then the response is horrifying too, where who knows how many civilians have died in Gaza.
Yeah.
So we're terrified of both. And then there's this narrative that, what was the thing with the hospital?
Oh, yeah. So this has been going on the past 48 hours. Basically what happened is the entire media, the Gaza Health Ministry, which is run by Hamas, said that Israel just bombed a hospital and killed 500 people. The entire media ran with this story. New York Times, BBC, everyone said 500 killed in Israeli airstrike on hospital. And obviously this is monstrous if so, right? Why would Israel bomb a hospital? Israel is known to have at least a policy of not bombing hospitals because Israel feels that it wants to generally respect what a war crime is, right? That's the policy at least. So this went viral. Then it turned out actually most likely it actually turned out 100% the hospital wasn't bombed. It was the parking lot next to the hospital. So that was the first inaccuracy in the story. Then it turned out it's very, very unlikely to be an Israeli airstrike and was almost certainly not a Hamas rocket, but a Palestinian Islamic Jihad. This is the other Palestinian terror group in Gaza. They launched a bunch of rockets. One of them was a dud and landed in the hospital parking lot. And and this is on video. Al Jazeera showed the video by accident, and that's how it's part of how it's been confirmed.
What do you mean by accident?
So they were showing this in real time. I think it happened at like 6:59 exactly. It's either 6:49 or 6:59. They were showing live footage of, or footage they had just taken of a bunch of rockets leaving the Gaza Strip to go to Israel, and one of the rockets, you could see it was screwy. It kind of blew up, and then you see a big explosion in Gaza right at that time. Turns out that's the exact time the hospital allegedly blew up. So that's how they knew it was a rocket from inside, an accidental rocket from inside Gaza, rather than the Israelis airstriking it. So then all the New York Times, BBC, they all started slowly changing their headlines from 500 killed in Israeli airstrike to 500 killed in blast to, at this point they may be saying parking lot next to hospital killed only 50 to 100 people. This is still an evolving story, and we're talking on Thursday. So by the time
it didn't
this
actually
episode,
hit the hospital itself. It hit the parking lot next to the hospital and did damage to the hospital.
The latest is that the hospital's still standing, and it was only the parking lot next to the hospital, and a bunch of cars may have exploded as well.
So
that's the latest, because they have pictures now. The next day they took pictures, and the hospital's there.
I thought they had photos of the hospital that was bombed out.
The New York Times, when they reported it first, they showed a picture of a different place in Gaza that was destroyed by an Israeli airstrike, not the hospital.
Oh my God!
Yeah. So this is now, I think there's an emerging consensus that it was a parking lot, probably not 500 people, probably more like 50 or 100, which is, again, tragic. Every life is tragic. But that basically the legacy media took Hamas's word as fact and then has had to backpedal.
What do you think? I'm Israel. You're the Palestinians in Gaza. If every one of the people in Gaza laid down the arms and stopped attacking, what would Israel, do to you?
It's a good question.
Nothing. They've tried it 5 different times. They literally stop attacking. Israel has never, not one time in history, initiated any conflict. Every single one of those things that you're pointing to is a retaliatory attack by a terrorist organization. But if that was switched, where Israel, you Hamas in Gaza, I take all of my arms and all of my protection and I laid them down, what would Hamas do? They would kill every single one of us. That's what they do. That's what they're sworn to do. That's their motto and the origin of their existence, all the way back to the Grand Mufti traveling to Hitler to ask, how do we solve the Jewish problem? Like, you want to follow from the Hamas to the Muslim Brotherhood, all the way back to the Grand Mufti, to Mujahideen, and you see the origins of one thing, which is, how do I solve the Jewish problem, is to eradicate and kill them. That is what Hamas came from. Not the Palestinians, not those poor people stuck in Gaza. But in that problem, if all of Hamas just went away, we would have peace. If they laid down their arms and they stopped murdering innocent civilians and raping women and killing babies, you'd have peace. If the other side laid down their arms, they would all be murdered, all 7.5 million of them, until they just were walking in blood through the Jordan River. How do you solve this problem? The radicals have to be eliminated. The terrorists have to go away. That is not, I'm not conflating the Palestinians and the terrorists. Those are separate things. But if there's 2.5 million people that are living in Gaza that are allowing 30,000 terrorists to run them, at some point, the olive branch cannot be extended from Israel when 30,000 people are using that region to launch attacks into their sovereign nation.
And we were talking about the propaganda that exists in America, What about the propaganda that exists in Palestine? I mean, what is their thought?
Oh, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So, like, did you see the hospital that got destroyed?
Well, it didn't really, right?
No, it did not really.
No, but the New York Times said it did.
Yes,
the
it
New York
did.
Times said it was
And congresswomen.
which is insane, and they didn't retract it. They
Yeah.
say, they
You
said
take
it was
horse dewormer, and
Yeah.
and Israel destroyed a hospital.
yeah.
So evil.
It's so crazy that they printed that in the New York Times. I mean, that's the paper of record. That's the most important newspaper that we have in America in terms of if we wanted an objective source of information. Most people say, what's the best? Look, I used to deliver the New York Times when I was a kid. And I did it. It wasn't even that profitable. I delivered the Boston Globe was my main newspaper that I delivered. And then I delivered the Boston Herald as well. And then I got a New York Times route, and I was proud of that because the New York Times was the real newspaper that intelligent people read.
Yeah.
And it was a different plastic wrapper.
Yeah, yeah.
You got a
It was like
clear...
that's
you
the
got a
good stuff.
clear wrapper for the Herald and a clear wrapper for the Globe, but for the New York Times, I got a blue wrapper. And I was like one of the people that got to deliver the New York Times. And I remember thinking as a 20-year-old kid, like, oh boy, I'm delivering the New York Times. And when I would drop the paper off at these people's houses, like, that's a fucking smart house. These people are reading the New York Times in
they are.
Boston. And I remember thinking that I was proud of that I delivered the best newspaper in the world. Really, I literally wasn't that much money, and it was a crazy route because I'd have to go like a mile in between houses. Whereas like with the Boston Globe, I'd have like 5-6 houses on one street that I would drop off papers to. And the New York Times, I'd have this fucking crazy route. I'd have to go all over the place to get rid of 100 newspapers.
Yeah, and then now in 2023, they're circulating terrorist propaganda.
Yeah, and with no
recourse.
repercussion, no repercussions. And what do they make? Did they even print a retraction? Did they say we fucked up?
You watch a missile get launched from Gaza. You know, 1/3 of all missiles that are launched from Gaza land in Gaza. Do you know think about how sad that is?
Is that real?
28% of missiles launched from Hamas land on top of the Palestinian people.
Jesus Christ.
And obviously, they have no ability to direct any military target when these crappy missiles are being launched into Israel. They're just like populated area. Populated. I went and did a Fox News stand up in the city directly north of Gaza. That is the most rocketed city in all of Israel. And in like the one day that we were there, we had like 6 rocket attack sirens go off. You know, it's the weirdest thing that the Palestinians are allowing Hamas to literally kill them and pillage everything about their existence from them. Hamas is so rich and so $70 million from Iran. You know, every humanitarian ship that comes into the port, or right now that is being brought up through the Rafah Gate via Egypt into the south portion of Gaza, the moment that lands there, that is taken control of by Hamas. They then build underground infrastructure in the tunnels, and they build military infrastructure, and then they turn as whatever they can into rockets. And the humanitarian aid that is supposed to be distributed to the people, they have control of. Like, they have to go. Not the Palestinians. They have been so screwed by Hamas,
but the propaganda
and by the PLO
that they encounter in Palestine has to be insane.
Yeah, they believe that they're on the good side. How do they sift through fact from fiction when what they're being told and being fed is being fed to them by Hamas? Like, how do
they get access to other information? And how do they ever like organize and discuss this openly without fear of losing their lives and being tortured?
The only time that you had consistent water and power going into Gaza was when Israel was controlling Gaza. Now that Hamas is running it, it is nightmarish in there. But they're still in charge. And they're being protected, and here in the United States being like called freedom fighters. Like, they are barbaric murderers and absolute terrorists that want nothing besides the genocide of when I saw like the LGBTQ flags of LGBT stands with Hamas, mind is blown.
Isn't it hilarious that have you ever seen that meme that it says queers for Palestine and then Palestine for queers? Like, yeah.
They wouldn't live there like hours. They'd be pushed off a rooftop or burnt alive immediately.
But they don't. But the narrative in this country is not that. Which is so strange. That like there's sort of overwhelming evidence about the approach that they have to gay people.
Yeah.
But yet somehow or another, there's this "I stand with Palestine" thing that makes you a progressive.
Go to Tel Aviv as a gay person. Walk around with your gay pride shirt with your husband or wife of the same sex. Nobody will bat an eye at you. Nobody cares. Everybody's like, what up? Like normal. Man, if she and her wife tried to walk down the road in Gaza, oh man. And it is so, this tinderbox that is that region, with the West Bank, with the Golan Heights in the north, with Hezbollah, which is being supported by Iran. They're all positioned on the border, with Iraq allowing people from Afghanistan, the Taliban, to move through. Taliban being funded by us, $40 million right now is what we're continually giving them, the Taliban.
Why do we do that?
I don't know. I don't know.
What's the cynical side of you?
We want to recognize them as a legitimate government, and we are paying for them to start a democratic process of like that. That is I think would be the tagline of what we want them to do. What it is actually doing is the same thing that happens when we release $6 billion to Iran in exchange for hostages. They then take that $6 billion. No, they're not using that exact money to fund terrorism with Hezbollah or Hamas, but I have one bank account that has an additional $6 billion in it, and now I'm able to spend $6 billion over here to finance other things that are going to destabilize the nation that I have sworn to eradicate, Israel and America. So like, cool, I'll happily give some more money to, they've been planning this for 4 years. The Quds, like the Iranian special operations guys, training and preparing Hamas, advising on how to execute this. How do they get the intelligence to know what direction they need to fly with their paragliders, which areas, which you don't think they had scouts in all the kibbutzes around Gaza to identify which houses they're going to be targeting? How did they find all that stuff out? The people that Israel was allowing out of Gaza to work as agricultural workers, they were going into these areas, into these kibbutzes, into these houses, into these villages, doing recons for Hamas. So then when Hamas launched their attack on October 7th, they'd been funded. There's this amazing book called The New Rules of War. And The New Rules of War lines out all of the ways that America is not prepared to fight a war. By non-state actors, by corporations, by cartels, by violent extremist organizations, using proxy methods. So like we are at war with Iran, period. They are funding every single group that just attacked our American base in Syria, that attacked our American base in Iraq, that attacked and killed a bunch of Americans in Israel. That was funded by Iran and trained by Iran. But we don't have the appetite to try and fight the war that they're fighting because they're doing it in just such a, we want that World War II, right? We want Patton standing on top of a tank, coming across, being like, there's Rommel, go and get him. Like that war is never going to happen again. And we are just not ready to fight this new type of war under these new rules of war, which is fighting non-state actors, fighting proxy wars, fighting corporations funded by governments, fighting cartels that are getting subsidized by governments, all to destabilize the greatest nation to ever exist in the history of mankind, us.
You were saying that you think we're more vulnerable now than we've ever been before, and you're legitimately worried that the United States might fall.
I am more worried now because of the lack of preparedness of the individual. Americans are fatter than they've ever been. They are, even though there's more guns now owned, there are fewer per capita owned by individual, with people that train regularly with them, people that are able to provide and protect for their families. All the metrics of measurements of like, that family's going to be okay. That is the smallest that it's ever been. And our government right now is more vulnerable internationally than we've ever been. Our military is, even though I'm so proud to be a service member, when the Army tells me to do something, I 100% have no say whatsoever. I got to go and do it. And I'm really proud to be part of the most elite fighting force on the planet. I think we are the weakest that we've ever been for a variety of reasons. When you put all of these things together and you just take a step back and like the aggregate, like the accumulation of all of these different factors make me be like, holy crap, we are vulnerable. And the only way to combat that is the individual to start taking their own security and preparedness seriously. Get less fat, get more healthy, go and train, go and buy a gun, go start exercising your freedoms. Like, learn what it means to volunteer in your school. So you have, like, cool, you can't start your own school. Cool, you can't homeschool. Well, get involved in your kid's school. Like, you got to do something, because if we continue down the path that we're in, we're done for. Like, soon. Not in like a generation. Like, right now. I'm scared. I'm gonna drink water.
Jesus Christ.